It's time for some Mammoet red and black. This model is the Liebherr LTM 1110 5.1 mobile crane, and it's made by the German model maker Conrad. It has a Mammoet model store number of 410287. Size does matter, so we'll stick it on the weighbridge, and it's just over 4 pounds or 1.84 kilograms. The packaging consists of a sleeve which wraps 2 expanded polystyrene trays. And the first thing we can see is an instruction sheet, and we'll look at that shortly. Luckily for us, the top tray has top written on it, so when it's lifted off, the model is the right way up. This is a Mammoet model, so it comes with a collector card, and that states that 500 have been made. Let's take a look at the instruction sheet, and it starts with a parts list, and it goes on to show you where the various parts have to be fitted. Most of the working features of the model are described. For the assembly, we'll get the crane ready for the road. And the first thing we can do is to fit pads to the outrigger pistons, and they just clip in. Next, in true Conrad style, we have to fit the mirrors. And we'll start with this one on the driver's side of the carrier cab. The mirror is made of tough plastic, and it pushes into holes in the cab body. You do the same on the other side, and there's also an additional mirror to fit over the top. And then we can move on to the crane body, where there's a couple of mirrors to fit. The first one goes on the bottom opposite the cab, and again it pushes into a preformed hole. The second one is for the cab, and it's a little different because it fits into a hole in the grab rail. Next we have a handrail to fit, and it's a plastic part which clips onto a metal rail. And when you've got it fitted, you fold it down in the transport mode. Next we'll go ahead and reeve up one of the hooks that comes with the model, and we start by taking some tape off of the winch drum. We'll pull some rope and reeve up the free sheave hook block, and we can attach it to the loop at the front of the cab. There's a single line hook block which doesn't drop into the holder, but you can rotate it in. Lastly, in this configuration, we'll add on the fly jib, and that just rests in the holders and then clips on. In this configuration, the model weighs 3 pounds 4 ounces, or for Mr. Metrics, it's about 1.48 kilograms. This crane can carry some counterweight on board, but we'll choose to keep the axle weights down and carry the counterweight on a truck. Whilst the crane is resting on its back and having a sleep, let's look at the detail. And the main transmission components are modelled. The steering connections are done simply for functionality, and the tyres have a good tread pattern. There are steps up to the carrier cab, and the black and red Mammoet decoration always stands out. Details include a number plate and beacon lights, and taking a side-on view you can see how many detailed graphics there are. And that includes a Mammoet fleet number. The outriggers have unique numbers, and there is Michelin branding on the tyres. The crane cab has got a wiper and metal grab rails, and there's also a bank of warning signal lights. There are a load more warning graphics on the crane cab, and the painted wheel hubs look great. Most of the handrails are metal. A nice touch is the flexible skirts above the wheels. The high standard of detailing continues at the rear. There's a number plate and nice looking lights, and the storage box for timber spreaders is modelled well. The Mammoet logos are also sharply rendered. There is nice metal lattice work on the fly jib, and the plastic parts such as the ratchet have a very good colour match. With the boom up you can see that the engine area and carrier deck are highly detailed, and that includes lots of nice textures and grills. It all gives a realistic impression. The boom sections are two-tone with graphics, but the top sections are overly thin. In terms of steering, the front axle pairs and the rear axle pairs are linked, but that does allow all the steering modes to be reproduced. There is also suspension of the axle sets. On the road, this relatively heavy model rolls along smoothly with all wheels grounded, And if we set the steering to its sharpest angle, you can see just how sharp a turning curve you can achieve. While we have the crane to hand, we can also test out the suspension. And after that, the crane can go to work. This is another in the long line of great looking Mammoet crane models. It has much improved detailing from Conrad, including tiny graphics and working deck ladders. And there's plenty of functionality which also works to a high standard. So if you want a crane model in Mammoet red and black, this one is excellent.